Hey everybody, it's George Whittam reporting for Whittam's World. Well, this week I'm not going to answer a question, but I'm actually going to address a topic that has been kind of hot in the forums lately, and that is Macintoshes, or rather computers in general, but I'm going to focus more on Mac. But basically, in general, what do you look for in a computer? And what can you do to the computer you already have to make it a much better performing computer? The rules kind of are the same whether you're on PC or Mac. There are certain things that make a computer responsive and to the user feel fast. Because I hear a lot from folks who hire me to do tech support for them, my computer is slow. And what does that mean? What does it mean to have a computer that's slow? One, it can just be really slow to start up when you turn it on. Very common issue for Windows users, but also Mac can suffer this as well after a few years. Two, it might just be slow in responding to starting applications. Things might take a while to start up and you have to wait quite a while for the application to launch. Three, the speed issue could be internet connectivity. Maybe it just feels slow because just about everything you do is on the internet, so the slowness that you're suffering is really internet or network related. So let's first address the problem of my computer takes a long time to boot up. That problem is mostly caused by slow hard drives and a combination of just a slow CPU or the actual processing chip inside the computer being very slow. Those two things together can really cause for a very slow boot up time. So, and one other thing actually is if you have a lot of external devices plugged into your computer through USB. For example, my computer here has no less than, and I'm not exaggerating, 14 USB devices plugged into it. Those things can cause the computer to take a lot longer to boot up because it has to talk to and parse all these different devices, figure out if it has drivers for them, make sure they're functioning. It does all sorts of things with all those devices. Hard drives as well. The more hard drives plugged into your computer and turned on, the slower it will take. Slower, it will boot. And my computer has, let's see, 2 internal drives, a time machine drive, a clone drive, an archive drive, and a downloads drive. I think there might be another one. There's a lot of drives on this computer. So anyway, if you're a real power user like me, you're going to have slow performance if you don't do one major upgrade, and that is replace that spinning hard drive, that old-fashioned hard disk, and I've got them all over the place. Let me grab one. Replace that old-fashioned hard drive that you've got in your computer. It might be a 3.5 inch this big, or it might be a smaller 2.5 inch drive that a laptop or a Mac Mini actually uses the 2.5 inch drives. So those drives, any drive that has a spinning disk is going to have much slower performance than a drive that uses flash memory. And flash memory is the kind of memory that's inside your cell phone. It's inside those little thumb drives, those little USB drives you use to carry files around. Those are using flash memory. Flash, as the name would imply, is pretty fast. And some computers, the flash memory installed for storage, like the one installed in the MacBook Air, for example, and the newest Mac Pro, uses a PCIe flash drive. They are extremely fast. And when I mean fast, I mean that's how quick it can read and write data to and from the disk. But not only that, it's also how quickly it can, what we call seek. And with a spinning hard drive, if there's a piece of data in this part of the disk and another piece of data over on this part of the disk, and it needs both of those very quickly, and that's what happens when you're doing multitasking and many things are running at the same time, there's a little arm in there that's wiggling back and forth really fast, trying to find data in both locations, and that slows down tremendously the performance. So if you're using flash drives, which are solid state, it can seek and find data on the disk very, very rapidly, and that will increase the performance of your computer very, very significantly. I've never installed one on a single computer where it doesn't make a tremendous difference. You can take your startup times on your computer from 5 to 10 minutes in some really bad cases down to a minute, and on a laptop like a MacBook Air, mine starts up in like 20 seconds. All right, well, that's just when you're starting up the computer. Big deal, right? You might leave it on for days. Well, the other thing is starting applications. Again, when you start an application, it has to go find the application on the disk, load that bit of data, could be up to a gigabyte or more of data that's on that spinning drive, and shove it into memory or RAM so that it can access it as the computer is running the program. and that takes time. That's why when you launch certain apps on, say, a Mac, for example, the little dock icon bounces for a while. Boing, 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 boing. It can bounce for a long time. That time that it's bouncing is when it's going to the disk and loading the disk into memory and all that stuff. But if you're using a flash drive, the speed that it takes to load the information off the flash into the RAM is very rapid, and most applications will launch in like 2 or 3 bounces. Boing, boing, there it is. I love SSD drives. They're also known as flash drives, or also called solid state or SSD, and I love SSD solid state drives. It's the best thing that's happened to computers in a really long time in regards to just overall day-to-day performance, ways that you feel the computer can be faster. Another big thing, and I was talking about RAM, is having enough RAM. And RAM, or in the world of Mac, we call it memory, is another big factor as to how quick your computer can run, and especially how many things it can multitask and run at the same time. If you're a heavy-duty web user like me with Chrome, right now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I have 20 tabs open in Chrome right now, and that uses a tremendous amount of memory. And if you are using a lot of applications at the same time, leaving a lot of things open, you need lots and lots of memory. So there's no reason to cheap out on memory. It's not expensive. I was able to put 16 gigabytes of memory, which maxes out my Mac Mini, in my computer for about $120. So it is not that expensive, and again, it's a massive boost to performance. So RAM is a no-brainer. Put as much in there as you can afford, or as much as the computer can handle, and you will absolutely have much better performance. You'd be amazed at how much that affects your day-to-day use of the computer. So another thing people complain about is internet. Internet speeds are more or less really more directly related to the type of network connection you're using. If you're on Wi-Fi, almost always it's going to be slower than Ethernet, okay? So Ethernet is going to win out every time when it comes to speed. There's just so many things on a wireless network that are battling it out for supremacy. One thing can interfere with another. If there's 6 people using Wi-Fi on one network, all of them are sharing the same radio frequencies and the same amount of bandwidth, so they're all slowing each other down. And you know, a Wi-Fi network may top out speed-wise at maybe 100 megabits a second. An Ethernet network will top out at 1 gigabyte per second, and now they're up to, I think, 10 gigabits a second, 10 gigabits a second, sorry. And so Ethernet will always outperform it. Well, what if you can't get Ethernet at that computer location? Maybe it's all the way across the house, and the only way you think you're going to get connection is Wi-Fi, or the dreaded running Ethernet all the way across the house. Don't worry, because there are devices that solve this problem, and they've been around for years. They just haven't gotten very stable and really good until recently. And those are called power line adapters. A power line adapter is a little box that plugs into the power of your household electrical wiring. It can plug in, you'll plug one in near the router where your internet comes into the house. You'll plug another one in at the computer that needs internet. Now, what's going to do is it's going to connect with Ethernet to the router at one end and connect with Ethernet to the computer at the other, and create a virtual Ethernet cable from one end of the house to the other. And it's amazing how it improves performance. I did the same thing here in my household with using these power line adapters, because my wife was complaining about slow performance. And the Wi-Fi, I'd done everything I could to optimize it, still too slow. Hooked these things up, and it was night and day. And these things are not expensive. Go online, Amazon, whatever, you can find them for 40 bucks for a pair, one for each end of the network. It's like running a virtual Ethernet cable. It just runs over your household power. So those are some ways to beef up the computer you've already got. You might be amazed that a computer that's 5, even 6 years old, in some cases older, may still perform great if you optimize it with the best upgraded parts. For maybe half the price of buying a new computer, you can juice up the one you've already got. Worst case scenario, if the operating system still seems slow and unresponsive after you do all that, you may need to just reinstall the operating system. You'd be blown away at how a computer that's 5, 6 years old, just simply by backing up your important data, then erasing it and reinstalling your operating system, can just breathe new life into your computer. It's unbelievable how well it will perform. So there you have it. a long rambling one this week, but just I had a lot of data I wanted to give out to you guys. So hope that was helpful for everybody out there looking at upgrading a computer or possibly buying a new one. So if you've got questions for the show, this is still a Q&A show. Do send them in to whittamsworld@edgestudio.com. And if you'd like one-on-one support, as always, come over to vostudiotech.com, where you can find all sorts of services and my scheduling system to schedule support with me, either in person here in Los Angeles or anywhere in the world. Thanks for watching. I hope to talk to you guys next week, and I'll see you next time.